only its back now visible to the surveillance camera in its cell. It begins to make slight movements with its arms.
You guys know what I'm thinking, what he's doing. If the hand was a little bit lower, someone needs to step in.
Later, in the void.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, guys, this is going to be a good one. Well, as long as the animation does the SCP justice, it's going to be top tier, guys. This SCP is SCP-4051, your friendly neighborhood Keter, guys. And if you remember this name, the reason why I am familiar with this SCP is because I already covered it in a non-animation reaction on the channel. I'm going to plug it at the end of the video or in the beginning so you can check it out. That's why I'm not going to be going too much in depth about this SCP in the beginning, especially for the people that haven't, seen that reaction yet. I don't want to ruin anything for you guys, so hope you're excited because I'm excited as well, man. So with that being said, if you guys are excited and if you guys do enjoy this reaction, please remember to smash that like button. Also remember to smash the sub button, join the family, and hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And without any further ado, there's nothing left to be said. Let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-4051, your friendly neighborhood Keter. Let's go.
Daniel sat, staring out of his bedroom window. The scene was always the same. Broken windows at the opposite houses, boarded up to try to prevent someone breaking in. Old, rusty cars sitting in driveways, and the streets littered with garbage. He looked at the latest piece of graffiti that had appeared overnight. For once, this hadn't been his work. Daniel had been in and out of trouble all his life.
He was in the graffiti?
He was on first-name terms with almost every police officer in his community. He dreamt that one day his life would change for the better. He wanted what other people had: a nice home, a car, and money to spend on clothes and fancy restaurants. Daniel knew that he would never be able to get those things from his own hard work. He couldn't even get a job. So he began to make a plan. He decided he was going to rob his local bank.
Wow.
He knew all the members of the local gangs. It didn't take him long to find 3 other guys who were keen to be a part of the robbery.
All old dudes. Bruh, I know for sure one of them's going to pull a hammy while they're trying to get out of there, and they all going to get caught up. Yo.
The 4 of them spent hours studying the bank layout and the surrounding streets. They needed to know the area like the back of their hands. After a couple of weeks, they were confident they were ready to do the job.
Okay,
we'll do it Friday night. Let's meet at the corner of the high street at 10 p.m. Friday night came, and Daniel stood waiting for the others to arrive. He looked around him nervously, but there was no one around. He saw his 3 accomplices walking towards him. Come on, let's get this job done. Daniel threw the brick he had brought with him at the window of the bank. The glass shattered into 1,000 pieces. Immediately, an alarm started ringing.
Yeah, for real.
Come on, we only have 5 minutes before the police get here.
Bruh, they did it from the front? Like, you couldn't even try to do it from the back or anything? Yo, they're wildin'.
The 4 guys jumped through the broken window and began emptying the drawers of cash. They had all filled their bags within minutes and climbed back out of the window. Daniel couldn't believe how easy it had been. Finally, he was rich. He would have everything he had ever wanted.
When it seems pretty easy, it's not going to be pretty easy.
They were all about to go their separate ways as they had agreed, when suddenly a young boy appeared out of nowhere. He was only about 10 years old. Go home, kid. Forget you've seen anything, okay? But the boy didn't move. You're not getting away with this, he said.
Oh my god.
Suddenly, a wormhole appeared beside the boy. The boy reached in and took out a tranquilizer gun.
Yo.
Daniel watched as the boy turned the gun on each of his accomplices and shot them. One by one, they dropped to the ground. Finally, the boy turned and pointed the gun at Daniel. He heard the click and felt the sting of the tranquilizer flooding through his body.
Dang.
Welcome back to SCP Exposed.
Getting taken out by a little kid. Well, I mean, he's way stronger than a little kid, but yo, just when you thought you completed the task.
Today, we bring you Keter class subject SCP-4051. But before I go on, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any SCP stories.
Always, bro.
SCP-4051.
Oh, by the way, when they classified this as a Keter class, that isn't being generous. Like, this dude, it's pretty much higher than a Keter class. I hope they'll explain it during this animation. If not, I'll talk about it towards the end. But this guy, he's straight up higher than a Keter, a regular Keter. You guys will see, hopefully.
One is currently held in a modified humanoid containment unit at Site-17. Modifications to its containment unit include a complex interlocking system of pistons, acting as an exterior wall outside of the standard floor, walls, and ceiling. This specialization is not necessary for containment, but has been selected to impede its anomalous capabilities during an attempted containment breach. SCP-4051 requires extensive psychological screening. These sessions are to be performed weekly with on-site therapist Jules Yesenia, communicating with SCP-4051 via the containment unit's two-way audio surveillance system.
Okay.
SCP-4051 is a male humanoid which can create temporary Class E wormholes to extra-dimensional spaces populated by a theoretically infinite number of a unique item.
Crazy.
These items are able to be removed from the extra-dimensional space, given that they are physically able to fit through the wormhole. Testing has concluded that SCP-4051 is unable to alter the contents of the extra-dimensional space after manifestation. SCP-4051 has been able to manifest the following items during controlled experiments overseen by Dr. Edwards at Site-17.
It looks creepy.
A small weighted net measuring 3 meters squared. A standard pharmaceutical container of sugar pills, although the label describes the pills as headache medication and a glass of drinking water. SCP-4051 has either claimed or has been reported to have manifested the following items outside of experiments sanctioned by Dr. Edwards. An aluminum baseball bat, several rolls of duct tape, an incendiary device and blast-proof sheet, and 11 instances of Class E paracognito hazards.
Okay, so I'm assuming they're going to skip over the part where he actually got into the SCP Foundation. So basically, he willingly went with them. Like, it wasn't any fight or anything. And his thing is trying to be a superhero. And he went with SCP Foundation to learn more about his abilities. That's what they sold him for him to come, quietly. So just keep that in mind.
After a review of all procedures and programs relating to SCP-4051's containment by the Ethics Committee, and subsequent evaluation by the Foundation Containment Committee, SCP-4051's presence outside of its containment unit has been demonstrated to be a substantial threat to any and all personnel located at Site-17. SCP-4051 was first brought to the attention of Foundation operatives in August of 2012, when a video depicting it using its anomalous abilities began to gain significant online attention. The recording depicted SCP-4051 assaulting and detaining several men via its anomalous abilities.
If something like that went viral on YouTube, oh my god, I can't imagine how many views it will get. Probably in the billions, no cap. That would be wild.
The video gained over 2 million views before warranting an intervention, following multiple testimonies by commentators of similar occurrences. Mobile Task Force Pi-1, known as City Slickers, identified SCP-4051 and performed a successful retrieval and extraction.
Nice.
On the 15th of August 2012, Dr. Roswell, assisted by Dr. Edwards, conducted an experiment on SCP-4051. They asked it to manifest several items: a 3 by 3 centimeter cube of lead, an object of SCP-4051's choice, and a container of bleach. It produced the cube after some hesitation. Requests for an object of its choice resulted in SCP-4051 removing a framed picture of its mother.
Aww.
It expressed discomfort at being requested to remove the bleach, but complied without incident. After the experiment, SCP-4051 was escorted back to its containment unit and reportedly asked how long it would need to test its anomalous properties. Site staff were informed that they ought to avoid the question if possible for the continuation of its compliance. Dr.
Yeah, okay, so that is why, because remember, the only reason he went with them is because he wants to, learn more about his powers, and it was something more so, for him to do what he wants to do to be a hero. But that doesn't fall in line with the SCP's goal in mind. They want to contain this dude, and that's why they didn't want to address the question. They said, we should push down the wayside so we could keep this going. So, sucky, but that's reality.
Dr. Roswell noted that it seems like it needs to have a clear mental image before it can manifest anything. More testing to determine boundaries of its anomaly will follow. The following day, Dr. Roswell, again assisted by Dr. Edwards, conducted a second experiment. SCP-4051 was asked to manifest a copy of Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace and a functioning mobile phone. It produced a copy of the novel displaying the words War and Peace on the front cover. However, the inside pages contained gibberish. It later admitted that it was unfamiliar with the contents of the novel. The mobile phone that was manifested appeared to be unremarkable, until attempts were made to operate it, and it was revealed to be completely hollow. As SCP-4051 was being escorted back to its containment unit, it asked repeatedly how its family was, and if it could have any company as it waited for the next test. All questions were ignored by the escort team.
Exactly.
The test suggests that SCP-4051's anomaly is based on how much it understands about the object. The next test should have 4051 manifest something non-existent. On the 17th of August, Dr. Roswell and Dr. Edwards conducted their third test, in which SCP-4051 was asked to manifest a circular square, the color blue, and a statement that says it is false. SCP-4051 responded aggressively to the requests.
Yeah.
Dr. Roswell attempted to negotiate with it to complete the test. It manifested all specified items in rapid succession, creating multi-paracognito hazards and a sheet of blue construction paper. The following is a transcript of the test. We will now begin the third test. The purpose of this experiment will be to ascertain whether... When can I go home? Asked SCP-4051. You may return home when the Foundation determines that it no longer requires your ability for research purposes.
Layman's terms, that means never. You'll be here for the rest of your life. Because they're never going to stop. To be honest, like, they're going to keep on requiring your abilities to do research, and they'll probably find a reason to keep you around, or just make up a reason. Because the whole purpose is containing. It's not about you learning your powers and being free and being a superhero. Like, he got bamboozled, unfortunately. He's a little kid, so it's a given, but it really sucks how they took advantage of him.
After this test, provided no new developments occur, we will begin to investigate how your anomaly functions on a scientific level, replied Dr. Roswell. Are you sure? The men who took me back to my cell weren't. I am certain. The experiment will now... Please, I need to see my family. Is there any way that I can talk to them? Do they even know what happened to me? Your mother has been informed that you are engaging in a school-sanctioned college visit. Unfortunately, we can only allow communication once. SCP-4051 began to pace the testing room.
And this dude looks like he's not even older than like 15 or 14. Like, college visit? How's that gonna fly?
I'm not doing any more of these experiments until my mother knows what happened to me. I can communicate your wishes to my superiors as soon as this test is completed.
No.
Yeah, okay, good.
See, I would have said no, but I mean, you know, everyone's different. He already did a lot of tests. I want to get some answers.
As soon as this test is completed. Yeah, okay, good. Do that. The requested items are a circular square, the color blue, and a statement that says it's false. A look of confusion passes over SCP-4051's face before it rapidly manifests all three. Detrimental effects on the cognitive abilities of anyone directly observing the objects exhibited themselves immediately. SCP-4051 was immediately incapacitated by attending security personnel and returned to its containment unit.
Look at that.
Dr. Edwards submitted the following note.
So messed
SCP-4051
up.
can manifest non-existent objects. Apparently, due to the effects of this experiment on Dr. Roswell, it is unlikely testing of this nature will continue. Additionally, its non-compliance may prove to be an issue. I'll send in a request for a pediatric specialist in a bit. This could be monumental in our understanding of how getaways to other dimensions are formed. And it'd be a shame to have 4051 just be another anomaly we need to keep locked in a box. Just imagine how helpful it would be if we could just use it to patch up the facility. Yeah, I'll send that request now.
That's just a little bit of what he could do. Like, oh my god. I'll talk about towards the end of the video.
The following incident report describes SCP-4051's attempt to breach containment, which occurred directly after the events of the third experiment. At 16.14 hours, SCP-4051 regains consciousness in its containment unit. It curls over onto its side as though in pain, only its back now visible to the surveillance camera in its cell. It begins to make slight movements with its arms.
You guys know what I'm thinking, what he's doing. If the hand was a little bit lower, someone needs to step in.
It stands, revealing that it has covered most of its front side in small sheets of Kevlar, held together by an extremely adhesive glue. Security personnel are called for assistance at this time, but are preoccupied with escorting Dr. Roswell, Dr. Edwards, and accompanying researchers from the containment testing chamber. It manifests an incendiary device and a blast-proof sheet made of unidentified material.
Jeez.
Attaching the device to the door of its containment cell and fixing the sheet over it to contain the blast. Security personnel from another wing are notified and begin moving towards SCP-4051's location. It detonates the device and succeeds in breaching containment.
Hey!
At this time, SCP-4051 also manifests an aluminum baseball bat. It begins moving down the hallway opposite the direction of the testing chamber. Security personnel make contact with SCP-4051 as it rounds a corner. A firefight ensues. The personnel have been advised to use projectile taser capsules for recontainment, which prove ineffective against its makeshift armor.
Nice.
Personnel are now advised to engage it in close quarters combat if possible. 2 other teams of security personnel converge on SCP-4051's location and successfully incapacitate it.
Oh, man.
What did you think about this SCP case?
Yeah, they left out so much. And now I know what you guys feel about when you guys already know certain SCP files and you see it animated and you're like, oh, they left out so much, yada yada yada. Like I know how you guys feel now. It's not a good feeling. So with this SCP, the crazy part about it is what they said prior, where it could help, patch up the facility and do other things, along with probably further other testing for like other SCPs. Because like one of the crazy thing about his powers is, if he understands something, he could, copy that from whatever dimension he's pulling stuff from. So imagine if he sees the indestructible creature. If he sees it, he could actually pull it out. And it could be a copy of the indestructible creature. And it will just cancel each other out. It's that nutty. And that leads me to believe that obviously he's higher than just a Keter class. He could be a Thamul class. Like if they really wanted to use him and he was compliant, obviously with this animation, he's not compliant anymore. He's not seeing his mom. But at the end of the day, if he is compliant, he could be a Thamul class to be able to help the SCP Foundation, just simple patch-up work or certain experiments or utilizing certain things they could like make. For example, the mucus that they get from SCP-3000, that mucus they use for like amnestics, you could just get that mucus, show it to this SCP. He could just easily just keep on copying it, and you won't need to go mess with SCP-3000. Like, he just needs to see 1 dose of it, and he could just keep on pulling it out. There's like no limit to that. That's how crazy it is. Oh man, I had a great time reacting to the non-animation version of this. Feel free to check it out on my channel. I will plug it towards the end of this video. Guys, man, I don't want to ruin too much, but they left out a decent amount, and it's so good. You should definitely check it out. This is one of my favorite SCPs, and it's unfortunate how sad someone that had a good heart ended up. But that's the SCP Foundation for you. There's no gray. It's only black and white. And 100% this SCP falls in the gray section. But what can you do? So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this breakdown, if you enjoyed this reaction, please feel free to smash that like button. Also smash the sub button, join the family, and hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.